Okay, welcome to our latest Swampcast. We are here going to preview the Florida-Arkansas game. It's amazing, Robbie. I hadn't even thought about it, but my wife was kind of harping on it last year, how they never had any night games. Finally, a night game in the Swamp, which, you know, it's much like Baton Rouge in that way. It's different at night in Gainesville.
Yeah, I mean, first time since 2011 FSU game. And several players talked about it. They're fired up for a night game, and they don't mind the long stay in the hotel during the day just to play a night game in the Swamp. So it'll be electric. Muschamp said there's clearly a difference in night games. He played there in '94.
Right.
And he said it
that
was
didn't
really,
work out too good.
It was wild. No, it didn't at all. Worked out well for Darren Hambrick.
Yes, it did. Raining that night, of course, when they played Georgia in '94. But, you know, I think it's going to, you know, given this crowd, which has had a kind of an odd start to the season, 12 o'clock game, is going to give them time to lube up and get fired up. And it's a big game. I mean, let's face it, we talked about this, Robbie, back before the Tennessee game, that this 3-game stretch here were all teams that they could beat. And to kind of set up the rest of the year, well, here's the third one. They kind of need to win this game.
It's a tough game and a good matchup. They've had a physical team like Florida. And I think Florida fans have hope again because of what Tyler Murphy's done, what the offense did in that game against Kentucky. They looked really good, really great in the red zone where they've struggled. And to have that success in the red zone gives people a lot of hope, I think. They're fired up about Tyler Murphy and the offense for a change.
Yeah, and what I wrote about in Saturday's paper is that this defense is putting up ridiculous numbers. I mean,
it's outrageous.
You look at them and you're like, that can't possibly be, even though you've experienced it. And I may grade them on a higher scale than they should be because
they gave up less than 200 yards, and you gave them a B plus and 7A. And you heard about that, I heard.
I did, yes. So, but the bottom line was, this is where we're going to find out about this defense. Look, I know Miami supposedly has a good offense, but that's a different level. I'm sorry. They may not like to hear that. But Florida shut them down for the most part after the first quarter. But Arkansas, physical team's going to say, look, here's what we're going to do, much like Florida does, as you said, Robbie.
Run the ball, play action pass. We're
going to be physical with you, and we're going to block you, and we got 2 backs that can run. And one of them, Collins, and the freshman, and then Jonathan Williams.
Yeah. But the Collins kid, Florida got in on him late last year. It looked like he might come to Florida, and then it became a Miami-Arkansas battle, and Arkansas won. But he's had 4 100-yard rushing games as a true freshman. The guy is amazing, and apparently he gets to the edge in a hurry.
Yep, and they obviously, you know, they haven't played a great defense. Let's face it. No. You know, Texas A&M, we all know they can't play defense.
They're averaging, giving up like 500 yards a game, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. Obviously, Rutgers not a great defense, and then their other 2 games. But the bottom line is, Florida. I think the formula's right there for them, Robbie. Don't make mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. You know, they reduced that number after that 5-turnover game. I think they've had only 2 the last 2 weeks. They've reduced their penalties drastically from where they were the first 2 weeks. And that's the kind of game they got to play because this is a game that's, I don't think, again, not going to have a lot of margin for error. And they can't make a mistake and give them a cheap touchdown.
Yeah, and the Gators, you're exactly right, Pat. Florida's back to where they were last year. They have to win that way, take care of the ball, score in the red zone, and play great defense. And that's where they're at right now. And it's going to be a tough game. It'll go into the fourth quarter probably, you know, in doubt. But Florida, take care of the ball, win the game.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key. Just try to play smart football. They're going to be amped. So is Arkansas going to be amped. The crowd's going to be, and I think it's important too, Robbie, that Florida play from ahead in this game.
Yeah.
Because
they don't get behind early.
The Swamp, you know, everybody's saying, the Swamp's not the Swamp. Well, the Swamp hadn't been the Swamp for a lot of reasons. Part of it's attendance, and again, that's a problem all over the country. But some of it is that, you know, there's not been those kind of games where you can stay in it. Now, the LSU game last year was.
That was huge.
Where they were, you know, the crowd was in it. I think that this crowd's ready to have a fun night and get their team a win, which they can do.
Yeah, there's nothing like going on the road and winning an SEC game and then coming home and playing a night game like this one. So I think fans are going to be fired up, the players are fired up, and it's a big game, and it sets up the rest of the season, really.
And we'll see, again, with Tyler Murphy and how much. This is a pass rush that's leading the SEC in sacks. Chris Smith has 6 sacks, but I pointed this out in something I did earlier, Robbie. 3 of those were against Southern Miss. Yeah. He only had a half a tackle last week against Texas A&M. So, you know, you can block him. And I think that's going to be a big key for Florida.
Yeah, I think Florida's aware of it. They'll scheme up and have a way to give protection to Tyler Murphy. And the thing about Murphy, last week in practice, they're saying Monday, he said, no, Tuesday he went out and tried to do too much, had a bad practice. And that's what they said, just relax and do what we asked you to do what you do. And ever since then, he's doing that and having success running the offense. So as long as he doesn't press, I think he's going to be fine.
And again, they're going to have to run the ball. That's what they do. And with two good backs, Matt Jones appears to be back to where they wanted him to be. And I thought, Mac Brown, when he was in there, was running hard. I know everybody wants Kelvin Taylor, but you got two guys who've been around the block and are really hard runners and are making big plays.
Yeah, and guys that know how to protect, too. They're good in protection. They don't make mistakes. Taylor needs to learn how to pass protect, things like that better, hold on to the ball security. These two guys can do that already.
Yeah.
So they're playing, and that's what you're going to see.
And they will continue to play.
Yeah.
But, Kelvin will get there eventually. Like I tell everybody, look, he's on the Matt Jones program. It's going to be a slow process, but towards the end of the season, he'll probably play a lot more.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Big game for Florida. If you win this game, okay, you're 3-0 in the SEC. I think that's only happened 3 times the last 7 years for Florida. So you're 3-0 in the SEC. And now you're set up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you've got momentum. You go to Baton Rouge with momentum, feeling you can win the game, and that's a big part of it.
Absolutely. And to be honest, and I've said this before, they could lose any of the rest of their games except maybe Georgia Southern, and they could win them all too, though. I mean, there's no team there are really good teams out there, but there's nobody Florida can't beat because they're good enough on defense.
No, and if they don't turn the ball over, Pat, they're going to be in every game. They're going to have a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. So take care of the football, and they got a chance.
We'll see what happens. We'll come to you from the Swamp and tell you what we thought of the Florida-Arkansas game when we do our next Swampcast. And again, I'm picking Florida. You picking Florida?
Yeah, I'm picking Florida.
Not Kentucky?
No, not Kentucky. Picking South Carolina to beat Kentucky.
You let some people talk you into things. All right.
Former columnist at the Gainesville Sun, by the way.
Former friend, too.
Yeah.
That'll do it for our Swampcast. We appreciate you for clicking on. We'll be back next, like I said, Saturday night with another one. Until then, Pat Dooley, Robbie Andrew of the Gainesville Sun saying so long from the Sunshine State.